Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. Guys, it is the podcast's second birthday, and I'm so excited. Let me blow these candles out so we can get started. Make a wish. Babes, I am so excited. I can't believe that I've been doing the podcast for 2 years now. I just want to take you guys back so you can understand the evolution of the podcast. So, I had the idea for the first episode in November of 2022. So I got the download because I was really in my podcast era that year. I think September was when I listened to my first podcast. And so after that, I was really hooked. I would listen to them all the time. So I was like, man, I really want to make my own podcast. So I was like, okay, cool. I never told you guys this, but the first iteration of It Girl Era was Bad Bitch Era. That was gonna be the name of it, and it was gonna be like fiery, and it was gonna be orange and black, but I decided against it. I was like, no, that's too much. It's not girly enough, So then I switched it to It Girl Era podcast, and I was like, okay, we're working with something. Yeah, so then in November, like I said, came up with the first episode concept, which I never even recorded. I never recorded this episode. I still have the idea, but I was watching a movie and I got inspired and I was like, yeah, I'm going to make an episode off this. And I didn't record my first episode until January. So I decided one day I'm gonna go to the lake and I'm gonna record. I had ordered a microphone off Amazon. It was the Blue Yeti that I used to use, and I was like, I'm gonna record a podcast episode. I ended up recording 4 podcast episodes. Did I post all of those? I think I put out all of those. And you can kind of go back and see how the audio was not that good because I was recording in my car. And I was holding the microphone like so close to me. And you can kind of hear me moving around and all those things. But I was really enthusiastic about it. I was so excited. And I still am excited. So I don't want to say like I'm not excited about it anymore. I still love the podcast. I love the growth that we have went through together. Then it was only audio until April of last year, April 2023. And then we started doing video podcasts. And yeah, I recorded the first video episode on my phone and I edited it myself. It was not good. The clips were super jumpy but I did it anyway. And here we are now with this setup. This is kind of like the setup of my dreams. I know we can evolve more than this, but I love this setup now. Especially with my gold microphone. And yeah, I'm just at my office. It's kind of laid back. It's chill. I enjoy the vibe a lot. Yeah. So I say all that to say, if you have an idea, that you are passionate about, that you can't stop thinking about, definitely pursue it, because you never know where it'll lead you to. And yeah, don't be afraid to pivot, and don't be afraid to try new things. Yeah, I think it's important to step outside your comfort zone and do things that you never done before, because the podcast is like my first baby. Because I had this feeling that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know how to break into it. And I was stuck in this, like, not wanting to be seen. And if I did do something, like, I wouldn't tell anybody about it. I wasn't going to tell anybody that I knew about the podcast. I was going to keep this a secret. And yeah, it was so silly, because now everybody who supports me really are my friends and family, you know. But yeah, I was going to keep the podcast a secret. And I was still shy about it. I was still nervous when I made the first post. I was literally so nervous. I remember I was at work and I was posting it and I was literally shaking. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so scared. But I did it anyway. And that's the key, guys. You can be scared about it. Be scared. I mean, it's scary, but do it anyway. You just have to have that faith and, yeah, believe that everything will work out, because it will. And yeah. Now, I will say that I no longer edit my podcast episodes. Listening to my voice over and over like that, I'm not a fan. But you know, you just kind of delegate, because yeah, before I didn't really have a choice. I just had to do it. But you know, my boyfriend, he does it better than I do, so I have him do it, and that's been good. So yeah, I just want to encourage you guys to follow your dreams and get out here. The podcast has taught me so many things about myself. I knew I liked giving advice. Like, I knew I liked helping people, but I see now that I really enjoy giving people, like, tips that I know will improve their lives. And that's the basis for the podcast. I've always loved giving my friends advice and trying to help them with their situations, no matter what it was. So it's like, if I could have, you know, all these friends on the internet, and I can help them with their life in any way, like, I would love to do that. And so that is why the podcast is here. Yeah, we had our first guest episode in December. Wow, I have to be honest, going into the podcast, I never wanted to do guest episodes, because when I listen to podcast episodes, I didn't listen to guest episodes. I didn't listen to the episode if it had a guest on it. I just didn't. That was just my personal preference. But a lot of people kept, you know, asking if I was going to have guests. And so I wanted to have Renee, the guest, on, because I really thought it would be a good collaboration, and I love her podcast, so I wanted to have her on the podcast. And I'm really glad that we did it, because I think it turned out really great. It's like the most popular episode on YouTube, and it made me get outside my comfort zone because I bought those microphones that we used, and we got some more equipment, so that was cool. And it was nice having somebody to, bounce off of my ideas, and I can bounce off hers. And yeah, so there will be more guest episodes in the future for sure, which is really exciting. And yeah, I'm gonna be really honest. I did not have a plan for this episode, but I knew I wanted to bring you guys an episode for the podcast birthday because it's really important to me. I think it's important to celebrate your milestones like this. You have to really look at your journey and appreciate where you have came from, because I probably wouldn't have reflected like that on how far the podcast has come. It feels like a lifetime ago, honestly. But how beautiful is it that I've changed so much and yet I still love to do the podcast? Okay. This just came to me. So let's talk about plans. Let's talk about plans. Have you guys ever heard the saying that, like, you make plans and God laughs? I literally feel like that's exactly what happens. I've had so many plans. So many plans that fell through or changed drastically or just weren't going the way that I imagined them to. And I found myself getting extremely frustrated by it. But it's like, we have to remember to not take ourselves so seriously and to not get so worked up in the 3D, like in this world, because we are having a human experience, right? But at the core, that's not who we are. And I hope I don't sound like esoteric, but yeah, I really feel like we are here to do a mission, and we are carrying out this mission according to what God says, right? And we sometimes, because, we have our ego, we think we know the best way for this mission to get done. And we don't, because we don't have the full picture. We only have a little snippet of it. So God is seeing the whole picture, and it's like, this is why things happen sometimes, because they teach us lessons when like problems or obstacles arise. They teach us lessons and they steer us in the right direction. And I truly believe that is what has been happening. And I want to encourage you to stick with it. And if you feel like you're bumping a wall, maybe find a way to think about it differently and change your perspective on it, because it might not be in alignment with you. It might not be, it's probably, causing you to detour. So make a detour and think about it differently, pray about it, and always remember to not take everything so seriously. And I like to remind myself that we're on a floating rock. So it's like, really, everything is just kind of wonky if you think about it, right? Because, like, why am I going to be stressed out about bills when I'm on a floating rock? I know God created me and God can do anything. So why am I about to stress about anything? And that's kind of the mindset that's been working for me. I just feel like I've been called to relax more and just surrender more, because I definitely was like, oh no, because I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And it's just like, I had a lot of goals that I was trying to achieve, but they weren't in alignment and they weren't coming from a good place. They weren't coming from a positive place. I feel like they were coming from vanity, like as far as like number goals and just things that I wanted. They were coming from a place of vanity, like I said, an ego. And it's like, oh, I saw it on Instagram, so that's what I'm going to go after. But no, I have to believe that I'm going to be successful without goals that don't feel like they're in alignment. So that's why in the previous episode I was talking about my passion a lot, because I feel like that's more in alignment with my purpose. And yeah, I feel like that helps me stay on track to carry out the mission. And I'd rather be successful doing what I'm passionate about versus just doing things just for the heck of it. Yeah, I will just say, when it comes to plans, definitely loosen your grip, because it's not always going to go according to plan. Most of the time, it's not going to go according to plan. So just plan for it to not go according to plan, and that way your plan is always accurate. And you have to get comfortable with the unknown, but in a way that you see it in a positive light. Like, there's an unknown variable, but I'm going to have faith that it is positive. I'm going to set the expectation that it's going to be better than anything that I can imagine, and just have this certain type of optimism. Yeah, just be along for the ride, and yeah, do what you can, and yeah, release your hands off whatever is just feeling too, like whatever makes you feel stuck, like in a bad way. Like if you keep running into a wall, you're gonna find a different way to go. So that's all I mean by that. This is my new money tree. I'm so excited to have it. I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for everybody who's ever tuned into the podcast. I'm grateful for the people who will tune into the podcast. I'm grateful for this setup. I'm grateful for this space. I'm grateful for this microphone. I'm grateful for this camera, for this light. I'm so grateful. Okay. I think that's good. Like I said, I didn't really have a plan for this. No script, no notes. But I just knew it was important for me to come on here and celebrate the podcast birthday with you guys. So, yeah. Happy birthday to the podcast again. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you like this episode, like and share it with a friend, and then rate it 5 stars and subscribe and comment happy birthday to the podcast. I hope you have the best week and make good choices. I love you. Bye.